calendar, the Sports Betting Channel presents To Be Determined. Our new show starts at 8 o'clock out here in San Diego, 11 o'clock in New York, and then we're done just in time for the first game kickoffs for college football. You're going to get 4 totally different slices of sports. Blackhawk West joins us for Saturdays in Canada and some plays for the CFL game. What do you do when the easy sports data is trending in opposite directions? Well, Mo's going to help us decide what to do on Something's Gotta Give. There's also Paulo's plays. Now, if you're not betting soccer, you really should be. And this guy is very, very good. Finally, there's Wake and Bake, where sports betting meets marijuana. Hey, the games start early here in Southern California. Now, 9 o'clock's a lot easier when marijuana is legal. It's like having 4 shows in one. Check it out Saturday, August 28th on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, and on the Sports Betting Channel.
What's going on, Jet fans? Welcome to another edition of What's Hot, a New York Jets and broadcast here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. My name is CJ the Painkiller D. Simone, and we introduce you to my squad during this evening. We are running one light so far, but I'm sure that Mr. Jackson will join us momentarily. So in the meantime, let me introduce 2 of our guys that we have. Kicking it off, the man with the master plan, coming from his top secret bunker over in Indiana. You know him, you love him. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Jimmy, the Reaper Jardine. And our rookie test pilot who really crashed the X2, which we all laughed about because it was a total prank. Here he is in the Gatling guns, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Harrison, the Fireball Glazer. Gentlemen, what is going on tonight? We have got a lot to talk about. Obviously, some sad news being reported by the New York Jets as we have lost defensive end Carl Lawson to a ruptured Achilles tendon. He's done along with, I believe, another safety named Trey Watkins. I'm not really sure who this person is or whatever, but I know it came out across the wire. So due diligence to report it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the Jets-Giants game in which the Jets were victorious 12-7. Our 3 thoughts on that. And, of course, we have our award-winning segments, which we are going to talk about, and we're going to get started on with right away. Kick festivities tonight. We're going to kick it off with Jimmy the Reaper Jardine taking us in the front office. Jimmy, who you got in the front office today?
Well, CJ, we're going to be looking at a few potential replacements for Carl Lawson. Unfortunately, as you know, we've lost him for the season with the ruptured Achilles tendon. That's hard. That's hard to deal with right now. Everybody was really hyped up about Carl Lawson, but we're pretty deep at the position, so next man up is kind of how I'm looking at it. I think Bryce Huff just solidified himself as a first-team player. I think he's going to be a starter, and I think that we have the depth. Zuniga's a little bit hard to trust right now. I'm sorry, CJ, but I think you're probably agreeing with me at this point on that one. So a little bit of the talk about who's out there. So I've got some free agents in mind. One of those being Olivier Vernon. He's going to be a little bit expensive as he's just finished up an $11 million one-year deal, so he's probably going to be looking for something similar to that. Depending on what Joe Douglas could do, I like him. No real bad injury history to speak of. He's been banged up here and there, but nothing that's been like season-ending early on or things like that, which tells me that he stays in shape, he stays game ready. So Olivier Vernon looks like we could potentially be going after him for whatever reason. He's unsigned right now, currently from Cleveland. The other one is Everson Griffin. Also, I believe he I bring up Everson Griffin because people have been bringing him up, but I think Everson Griffin was placed on the PUP list in Detroit, but I'm not 100% on that. The problem with these guys is we're looking at 30-plus-year-old defensive ends. It's really tough to go into that a little bit. You know what I mean? We could probably get an Everson Griffin if they decided to let him go, and if he's actually able to play, we could probably get him for right around $6 million. So I mean, we have the cap space to do something. It just depends on how you want to go. Some of the available guys, Vic Beasley is available. Like I mentioned, Olivier Vernon, Tyrone Crawford, Trent Murphy, Ezekiel Ansa is available as well, but that is just an injury waiting to happen, in my opinion. So yeah, I think in the front office we have to decide: is it going to be financially responsible to do something along this thought process? You know, do we want to bring another guy in? I think you would want to replace a body, especially your top body at edge rusher. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this something that we should do? Is it? Who are you guys? Do you guys have someone in mind? Let me know.
Well, free agent wise,
we'll start off with you. We got about a minute.
No problem. Well, free agent wise, I'm really happy with the guys on the team, and I know, Kev wanted to get into it. He wanted to talk about Bryce Huff, so I was going to, wait for him to come back unless you want me to get into it now. But CJ, friggin' that, as Zuniga's been your guy for ever. Huff's been my guy, man. Like, I love this guy. Like, I'm excited about him. A lot of the other guys too. I'd love to talk about them, but I know Kev wanted to start that out. So if Kev wants to jump in, I'd love to, hop on after that.
For some reason, I'm having issues with my StreamYard link. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the audience right now. CJ, good looking. Really, I was going to go into the spotlight, but the spotlight in particular was going to be Bryce Huff. But it's I kind of messed up the flow of the show, to be honest with you, with my technical difficulties over here. But the fact of the matter is that with the injury to Carl Lawson, we're in bad shape, man. And really what it is that I wanted to do, I guess I can go into the spotlight now, right? In the spotlight this week, Bryce Huff. And again,
well,
it's not necessarily.
Let me get you set up if we're going into the spotlight. So let's do that. All right. So Mr. Kevin Jackson is going to take us in the spotlight. Kevin, who you got? Talk to me.
Yeah. Let me try to regain my composure here. Welcome back. Thanks again for coming back to check out what's under the spotlight. Again, Bryce Huff is in the spotlight this week, specifically because of the issue. And it is like the most ridiculous gut punch with the injury to Carl Lawson. And I've been kind of getting it, from a couple of folks all day. Please don't let it be, where folks are reaching out talking about, condolences and all of that. I heard that, we're sorry, but, same old Jets, the whole thing. If I'm going to keep it real, I got the news today, and, again, real gut punch. It's one of them, being balled up on the floor in the fetal position, kind of crying like, oh my God, is this really happening kind of thing, right? And, after I get the news, the first thing I'm thinking is, I hope nobody comes in here and sees me balled up on the floor here crying, because it's going to be really embarrassing. The second thing I thought was, man, my hip is bad. I got to get up off the floor real quick. And then the third thing I thought was, Bryce Huff, man. John Franklin Myers. All of the additions that we've had. I mean, I keep thinking to myself, Carl Lawson obviously was the main addition. I talked about it in the spotlight in the show. I wanted Carl Lawson to be the guy that we brought in. We did. And I mean, I'm not the only one out there on an island with that. I mean, Carl Lawson is a ridiculously gifted athlete who we expected to come in and actually bring us to a top 5 defense. And when we had something like that, or defensive line, excuse me, if we had something like that, that's a big deal for us. And to lose that, just before we even get a taste of it, it's really difficult. But again, this is an opportunity. I think Robert Saleh talked earlier in this particular part of the season about the team having to overcome adversity. And I mean, there's been a lot of adversity if you really think within the doors of at One Jets Drive, man. I mean, with the loss of Greg Knapp, that was a difficult situation to have to overcome, especially when we're talking about its impact and the influence over our new franchise quarterback and the face of what it's going to be here for the next hopefully 150 years. So look, Bryce Huff is an insanely talented young man. He's not a Carl Lawson. John Franklin Myers, again, an insanely talented young man. They're not Carl Lawson. But I think that what it is that we lose, we do gain some in the experience that it's going to give to these young guys. And if Carl Lawson is what it is that I'm expecting, and he's going to go to surgery, he's going to go through rehab, he's going to work his ass off so he can get back, and he's going to get ready to go. This is a difficult time, but I wanted to again point to what it is that I think that really is the silver lining in this, and that is that our young players are going to be able to see some time. What happens? Does John Franklin Myers then become the lead edge rush prospect for what it is that we're going to run out? Bryce Huff on the other side, are they going to start rotating them in and out? So John Franklin Myers is going to play inside, maybe a lot less than what it is that he normally would, and he's going to play outside, and Bryce is going to get more run. And even the young guy Marshall, who I kind of said in the preseason game, may actually talk himself or play himself out of a practice squad consideration. He might actually make the roster if things continue to look the way that they did for him. So look, Bryce Huff is the reason why I'm in the spotlight tonight. But guys, this is a very thing for me. I hope you guys can kind of feel me on this. The only reason that Bryce Huff is in the spotlight right now is because I really kind of wanted to take the focus off of the really difficult situation that is losing who it is that we really thought was going to be the best player on this team this season. So just to, we're going to go into some of that later, I'm sure. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of hurting, but I honestly am, kind of excited about what it is that we're going to be able to do, going forward. What do you think?
Yeah, man. And I think you nailed it before when you said, that none of these guys are CJ Mosley. And that's the point. We're hoping, not the interior guys like Quinnen Williams, obviously is Quinnen, but for the edge rushers, we hadn't had an edge rusher of his caliber in like 20 years since John Abraham. You guys remember all the numbers I gave you, the crazy stats he was putting up, how hyped I was, how hyped all of Jet Nation was. I didn't even want to get into it because I was devastated, man. Like we all were. Like on Twitter, we were all, anxious about the news, but we knew it was probably the worst from what we heard because, Connor Hughes said it, with those Achilles injuries. He said when it's rolled up in the back like that, that's kind of it. And then they announced Carl hurt a pop. So yeah, he's done. And it feels like, at first, like you were saying, like that at SOJ, like that kind of stuff happens. Because again, he'd been our first top edge rusher in 20 years. Like a guy of that potential, haven't had a guy like that since John Abraham. He was living in the backfield all camp, all offseason. Next to Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore, he was easily the most hyped player everyone was excited about. Easily. So it was devastating. And I know I tweeted it out. I basically wanted to throw my phone in anger. I needed time off. You can ask my fiance. I was pissed. I was not doing well. I was really upset. I was angry. Went through a bunch of stuff, tweeted a bunch of stuff, talking again about Bryce Huff, or, gonna get into as well. But as the healing process goes, I immediately start to realize two things. And the first thing I realize is, okay, yeah, we lost Carl Lawson, but the most important thing is the people in charge. The most important thing is Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, the right people in the right places, bringing in the right talent. So this is still our beginning. Like, this hasn't changed. It's definitely a kick in the crotch, like the hardest kick in the crotch you could even imagine. But it's still our beginning. Like Joe Douglas is there, Robert Saleh is there, Zach Wilson is there.
Yeah.
We're going to rise together. Like, we're going to keep moving forward together. And I also realized, because I went to do some stat polls, because you guys know stats are my thing, also helps make me feel better. Robert Saleh's 49ers defense back in 2018 and 2019 was ranked first in the entire NFL in quarterback hurry percentage. No team hurried the quarterback more. Then in 2020, they lost their star, Nick Bosa. And I love Carl Lawson, but he's not Nick Bosa. They lost Nick Bosa and Dee Ford and Zeke Ansah, yet they still finished top 5 in hurry percentage. That's because this defense is designed, like we've talked about and I've mentioned, with getting to the quarterback. And Kev, you nailed it before. What's so important is, Saleh said it so many times, how we handle adversity matters. How we handle things like adversity matters the most. And honestly, the answer now, yet it sucks. It's horrible. I'm devastated, but next man up. Next man up right now. And those next men you mentioned are, Bryce Huff, who you guys know, like I was saying earlier with CJ, like Zuniga's been your guy forever. Man, Huff is my guy. Like, I love Bryce Huff. I loved him in Memphis. I wanted us to draft him in the later rounds. I couldn't believe he didn't get drafted. When we got him as UDFA, I freaked out. And here's why. In his sophomore year, he put up 15 and a half TFLs. Oh, sorry, that's his junior. In his sophomore year, even better, he put up 19 TFLs and 9.5 sacks. He was named to the second team All-AC, and his 19 TFLs were tied for second in the whole conference, 9.5 sacks tied for third. Now, the next year, he actually transitions from outside linebacker to hand-in-the-dirt defensive end, and he still has an amazing year. Not as good, 15.5 TFLs, 6.5 sacks, 16 QB hurries, still played really well. You guys remember I got the chance to have an exclusive interview with him. What blew me away the most is I asked him about that. I asked him about how he had a great year at outside linebacker, great year hand in the dirt. How was the transition? And he corrected me. If you guys remember, we talked about it. He's like, I've been playing my hand in the dirt my whole life. Like, my whole life, I've been a hand in the dirt 4-3 outside linebacker, 4-3 edge rusher. Like, I had to learn to be an outside linebacker. I guess it's just awesome that he balled out in his sophomore year as an outside linebacker. But he was made for this system. And we saw it in the first preseason game, 2 sacks, 2 TFLs. We're getting Vinny Curry back week 2. Remember, John Franklin Myers told me Vinny Curry is the fastest get-off he's ever seen, even at his age still right now. Guy put up 10 QB hits last year at 32. And we have Ronald Blair. Like, I think he's going to get an opportunity right now, especially because, with the Carl Lawson situation, he could get an option. So, Ronald Blair, which is interesting, he was a 5th-round pick not too long ago, a couple years back. He's been with the 49ers. He was one of the best defensive linemen in Sun Belt history. This dude put up over 50 TFLs, 20 sacks in the NFL, which is wonderful. I have the numbers right here. He had 13.5 sacks in just 47 games with the Niners as a situational pass rusher. And he's a good run stopper as well. I like him as a run stopper. I love his potential there. He might be one of the better edge rusher run stoppers on the team. But he's also been a decent sack guy, but he's been situational. So he's going to get more of an opportunity now, especially as familiar with the 49ers scheme. And you guys mentioned John Franklin Myers. I, liked him on the inside more because we had Lawson. But now that Lawson's gone, everything changes. I think Huff and Myers are going to be those 2 guys mainly eating on the edge. And Myers, man, last year, he had 27 QB pressures, second on the whole team, 11 QB knockdowns, first on the team, 4 more than Quinnen had, and he had 13 QB hits, which is second on the team and only 1 less than Q. So we still got Quinnen, who again is one of the best interior defensive guys in the league. We got Franklin Myers. We got Huff, we were just talking about. Ronnie Blair could be in the situation. Even Zuniga now actually has a chance with Lawson gone. So it sucks. The situation sucks, but it's next man up.
Nope. Jimmy, go ahead. You got a minute left.
You're on mute.
Jimmy, are you awake? You
Sorry
probably
about that.
muted because the animals are roaring.
Yeah, Arlo started dragging baby wipes out of the bathroom, so I had to go get it. I think Bryce Huff is going to shine. I think he's going to be a solid addition, and I think this, all respect to Carl Lawson, I can't wait to have you back next year, but Bryce Huff is probably going to establish himself, in my opinion, as our premier edge rusher from our draft. You know what I mean? Our homegrown talent. And I think it's going to be okay. We're going to be fine. I want Carl Lawson to be here, but it is what it is. Like everybody's saying, next man up. Let's just let's just move forward.
All right. So now it's time for Mr. Harrison Glazer in the Gatling guns to tell us exactly who he's got his crosshair, who he's got in his cross. Harrison, your 5 minutes is up. Go for it.
Let's do it. So my Gatling gun, man, I got it targeted. I got it positioned, and it's not just on one man. It's on a line, which kind of gives it away. My Gatling gun is pointed at the Jets' offensive line right now because the Jets' offensive line has been interesting. You know, that first preseason game against the Giants, I talked about it, on my channel when I did my analysis of the game. That was my favorite part. I was actually blown away by the starters. I keep in mind, I kept reminding myself ABT's out, so that's an issue. But I liked what I saw. Zach Wilson had a really clean pocket, I pointed out how our backup offensive linemen don't look that good, which if you watch that, Mike White and the other quarterbacks didn't have a clean pocket, but Wilson did. Even when those edge rushers, I mentioned you guys about the Giants with Carter, Ushulari, when they collapsed the pocket, Becton and Morgan held their own, man. They laid their feet, set their footwork, got their technique, and kept him out. That pocket looked great. But then what we saw again, what we saw at Green Bay with the joint practice. At the joint practice, the offensive line might not have even been there. Like, it was just sack, 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 sack. Granted, Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith, the two Smith brothers, are like, some of the best edge rushers in the league, one of the best tandems, but it was still not looking good. And LaFleur came out recently and actually said that Mekhi Becton is going through something, which that bothered me a little bit because I thought, okay, he's having trouble, he's struggling here. But that's different, like if it was just he was struggling, you would say that. He said that Mekhi Becton is going through something and that needs to be worked out and they're going to help him with it. So that scared me a little bit. I hope everything's okay. Shout out to you, Big Ticket. I hope you're good, man. I love your potential at left tackle. I feel like that offensive line is a little scary right now because they looked really good in that Giant game. But I also noticed the backup offensive line, like I said, didn't look good. So we're very thin. Very thin. We have, if anyone gets hurt, we're basically screwed. But in the joint practice, it didn't look good. So this second preseason game with the starting offense, we're going to get a chance to see what they can do now. But after the Packers, man, after what they said about Mekhi, after they said, that the offensive line has been getting beat a lot, hasn't looked as good, they're in my Gatling gun, man. They're in my sights. And yeah, like I said, I thought they looked good in the Giant game, but they're going to have to keep that consistently going.
All right. So we'll start it back up with Jimmy. Jimmy, what are your thoughts? And then we'll circle around to Kevin. And Jimmy's muted again.
Let Kevin go first. Sorry, guys. I'm taking care of something here, too.
All right. Kevin, you go first. Nothing like dead air, man.
Yeah, like real talk. We've got we've got other issues, but look, the reality is Harrison, hits upon something that I think, I guess is going to become very blatantly obvious to us here, as we move forward, because again, we lost a transitional player, somebody who, the expectation was going to anchor of what was going to be, quite possibly. Not only one of our best, but one of the best in the league, right? So it's hurtful right now. But what I think is the silver lining in this, and I think this kind of goes back, just to take it a little step further, to recognizing where it is that Joe Douglas has placed us right now and why this particular situation is different from situations that we've had in the past, and that, couple years back, so recently, over the course of the past decade, we would say something like this happens and immediately everything crumbles. That's not the situation now. Yes, we are going to take, not to be unrealistic, we're going to take a sizable step back, but it is not so much that it drops us completely out of being able to be competent. We have depth, and I mean, not only do we have depth, we have quality depth. I understand that the main guy got hurt, but if the rest of these guys can maintain a modicum of health over the course of the remainder of the season, these guys are still going to be pretty nasty. Let's not get it twisted. So Harrison touches on great things. Obviously, there's a lot of different places that we can point there's a lot of hope, I guess, that we could look to in recognizing that these guys, they're all hungry, they all want to eat. And kind of something on Zuniga, just to wrap this up real quick. Zuniga had a lot of talent, man. When we came in, we thought he was a really talented kid, and I think maybe, he might be overwhelmed as of right now. I'm not sure if I'm actually seeing him with the dog mentality, recognizing what it is that he has in the room and trying to be better than all of them. Even if you're kind of learning from them and respect them as veterans. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I'm just off with that, but that's what it kind of feels like to me. Harrison, you're on point though, man. I get it. We have a lot to look forward to, and it's kind of difficult because we have this difficult thing to focus on. But there really is. There's a lot that we're going to be able to talk about coming up over the course of these next couple of weeks.
All right, Jimmy, you're up.
So I like what you were saying, Kev, and one of the big reasons that we fell apart when something like this happened before was because A, there was nothing behind it, and B, that player was usually on just some idiotically stupid contract from Mike McCagnon or Idzik, or moving back and back and back. So it not only cost us for the player, but it cost us in just dire cap situations. You know what I mean? So with the front office we have, with the people that we have making these decisions now, I'm fully confident that we can keep this to a minimum. And everybody is gonna say, well, we have this full-on medical department. Where were they? Well, you gotta let this stuff start getting into the swing of everything. You know what I mean? It doesn't just happen overnight. It's not like we hired 5 doctors, so we're not going to have any injuries, guys. Don't worry about it. That's not the way the world works.
Yeah, and it's not even just that. And Jimmy, I'd love to hear what you think about the offensive line as well. But mainly with that, I'd love to hear what you think about the offensive line.
Oh yeah, I was gonna let you finish. No. I was, and I'm sorry, I kind of went off on a little tangent there, but Kev keyed on something that I really had to go after. As far as the offensive line goes, I'm perfectly happy. I'm perfectly happy. Everybody's like, oh, Becton's getting blown up in practice. They're making it happen. They're designing it that way. Like they want. Saleh specifically said that he is talking to the floor and he's talking to the coordinators at Green Bay and telling them, hey, this is what my guys are struggling with. Obviously, without revealing too much, like they're not saying, this is my player's Achilles heel right here. Do that. They're not doing anything like that, but they're approaching it like, hey, we'd like to see some of these looks or some of those looks, a speed rush to Makai's left side. So, I mean, I'm happy. If you start getting blown up in practice, then you look better on Sunday. It's inevitable. You start learning how to get better, and that's what they're doing. I'm happy with their offensive line. Even Feeney.
Not Feeney. Feeney's a bum.
Feeney didn't look good. And yeah, you're just to wrap it up quick, put a little bow on it before we move on from the offensive line, because that was the Gatling guns. The backup offensive line didn't look good. When the starters came out, it was bad. And I made a note of that even Mike White didn't go against the starters. He looked really good, though, in a bad pocket. Like Zach Wilson had a clean pocket. Mike White did not. Those backup offensive linemen did not look good at all, which made me really worried about depth, like legit worried. Feeney was the weakest part of that, starting offensive line, but AVT's going to be in there. Once AVT's in, that changes. So I liked it a lot in the Giant game, but again, maybe it's just, the talent of the edge rushers of the Packers, but, we hear about, obviously with Lawson was beating Makai a lot. He was having a lot of trouble with the Packers, but it just surprised me when, LaFleur made a point to say there was something going on with him. So I was just a little, I was hoping for more, and I'm also hoping that, everything's okay in that department, because that is our future left tackle. And, like we talked about, quarterback needs an offensive line. If our rookie quarterback doesn't have an offensive line, doesn't matter who the running backs are, doesn't matter who the receivers are, doesn't matter.
Thanks.
All right, so now let's move on to our next topic of conversation tonight, which is reflecting a little bit on the Jets-Giants win. Obviously taking the decision 12-7 in a game that was pretty much a relative snooze fest. So we'll go around the room. I want everybody to give me three key takeaways that you guys got from the game. Obviously, since Harrison's already warmed up, we'll start with him. Then we'll fire off to Kevin, and Jimmy will take it from behind.
Cool. I gave you guys offensive line already. That was my biggest one. The loving the way the starters looked in the Giant game, especially when the pocket did collapse with the tackles. And I just love Mekhi and Morgan Moses. I saw them both do it. They got blown up by the edge rushers, but kept their footing, kept their strength, and pushed them back. Kept that pocket clean. And the backup scared the hell out of me. Like, really scared the hell out of me. But another big thing we noticed in that game was Zach Wilson looked really good as a starter. Mike White looked very good as a QB2, looked competent, looked poised. Remember, QB2, you just want a guy that understands the system and can come in and, function in it. And he looked like he can be that guy. So he definitely looked like he could be that QB2. Another big thing was those young edge rushers we talked about. Bryce Huff, 2 sacks, 2 TFLs. I thought Mike Dwumfor had a great game. I was really surprised when he got cut. Like, I thought Dwumfor and Huff were just living in the backfield, like, the whole game. So I was shocked when he got cut. He got hurt at the end of the game. Maybe it's got something to do with that, but I was shocked about that. And then Jonathan Marshall, the last pick Joe Douglas took in this draft, 200 and something overall, he had the game-winning safety. He won the game with the game-winning safety and had a sack. So his young edge rushers, Huff, undrafted guy, Rashed had a sack, undrafted guy, mentioned Marshall, like the last pick he took. These young edge rushers are showing up, these young defensive linemen. So you talked about it before, this defense is designed with getting the pass rush. We mentioned how, with Robert Saleh, when he lost his starters, they weren't the best in the league, but they were still top 5. We're still eating. Like, it's not going to be the same as with Carl Lawson there, but we're still eating. Don't let anyone misunderstand that. We're still coming for you.
Okay. All right. 3 things in particular.
No doubt.
First and foremost, even with the loss of Carl Lawson going forward, I still think that the $300 bet that I placed saying that we're going to win more than 6 games is really a good bet. I don't care. I still think we're better than that, regardless of if we win 10, 11 games or not. And I have to be realistic. I have to adjust, my thinking on that because, we kind of lost a really pivotal part of what it is that I thought we were going to do. So I still think we're in really good shape. Number 2, I'm really excited about seeing what it is that this coaching staff looks like when the training wheels are off. Right? I'm sitting there thinking to myself, especially, and I recorded the game, so I've actually watched it in full twice, and I've watched a few clips. I took about an hour one of these past couple days, excuse me, and I kind of went through and I was like, look, that's what we were talking about, and it's basically kind of the same stuff that you see in all of the little shows and all of that. But the takeaway is that, man, we're in pretty good shape. Number 3, if we're not AFC East champs by 2023, something has really, the wheels have fallen off totally. And that was my takeaway. I come out of this game and I'm saying, I see the foundations of things that I think are going to be really strong for us. I want to temper my expectations about what it is that we have in the short term here, but I really do believe that long term, and it's almost just like looking at my little stock portfolios. I'm looking at candles right now, and the candles look like we're getting ready to pop, right? And I'm really excited. That's something that really stood out to me. Not just after watching the game the first time, but obviously after more kind of focused attention, and repetition. I guess just like a coach would do. You watch film and you figure out what's what.
Kev, can I ask you a question, bro?
Yeah, man.
So you were just saying, like top of the conference, which I would love, top of the division, which I would love too.
Yeah.
But like, you look at the Patriots, they're trending down. Miami's kind of sitting still, but Buffalo's trending up. They're looking good. So my question for you though would be, by 2023, are you happy if we make the playoffs but aren't the top of the division, but we still make the playoffs? Is that a good enough benchmark?
No, No. Look, I'm gonna be an ass. I'm gonna be an ass about this. I hate Buffalo, and I don't care if Buffalo
I
is
do
good.
too, bro.
I don't care if Buffalo is good because we always play Buffalo hard, and every single time Buffalo comes to our house, we're gonna put the whooping on them, and every time we go to their house, they're gonna have to worry about getting the whooping put on them there too. So, look, maybe that's just me being a homer and attitude about how much it is like I don't care about Buffalo, but I still think that our team is better suited to handle them than I think any other team in this division. And I think regardless of what it is that they do, we look like as of right now, some of the things that we need to be competitive and beat them, we are either already developing or already have.
All right, Jimmy, your thoughts.
So I three of my key takeaways from the Jets Giants game. First of all, one of my biggest takeaways was how composed Zach Wilson looked from start to finish, and not just throwing the ball or not just his footwork, but in the huddle, in between the plays. I've mentioned a couple times where you'll see a quarterback make a bad throw, and then the camera like focuses on him, and you'll see him like kind of ha 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 laugh it off, like they're forcing themselves to try to put it behind. Zach Wilson wasn't like that. Zach Wilson had a couple, I wouldn't call them bad passes, just off timing passes, and no nonsense, all business. Plays dead. Okay, back to the huddle. I loved how he was eye contact. You could see him in the huddle. He was eye contacting with people. He was delivering the play. He had the team nodding, multi-year vets like Morgan Moses was nodding in response. He had command of the huddle. So Zach Wilson's demeanor was my biggest takeaway. I think that was absolutely amazing. My number two takeaway was how well the defense performed at all levels, regardless of if they were ones, twos, or threes. I saw form tackling. I didn't see any nonsense tackling, trying to throw a shoulder for a big hit for a highlight reel type of a thing. I saw players that are likely fighting for a roster spot, staying in their lane, covering what they're supposed to cover, not over pursuing, not trying to show out just to make just to make a highlight reel to get on a roster. They were doing what was best for the team. So form tackling, solid defensive coverage throughout. The secondary looked good. So I loved how well the defense looked from the start of the game to the end of the game. Now, my biggest takeaway, my number three takeaway, the game plan that Saleh and LaFleur put on the field in the first preseason game of 2021 looked more in-depth and more complicated than anything the previous coach ever put on the field, whether it was preseason or whether it was week 17. So the offense, Tyler Kroft goes in motion on the first play. We haven't seen that for 22 months.
Forever. It's been
we saw running to the left. We established that left side run. The defense started cheating. We hit them on the right side. Like we were doing what a football team game plan is supposed to do. And the game plan, purposefully vanilla, purposefully basic, looked better than anything that the previous coach from 2020 put on the field. So those are my takeaways. Sorry, Kev, go right ahead.
No, I look, you're spot on, and I love the fact that you guys are on the show with me, right? Because I'm giving a 50,000-foot view, right? And that to me is, as a Jets fan, the 50,000-foot view is really, I think, what most of us have, right? Most of us as Jets fans, excuse me, let me just clarify. Most of us as Jets fans, we have the 50,000-foot view. You and I, we actually understand the minutia because we dig into it. Harrison, great with numbers. Jimmy, come on, man. You're one of the guys. You guys are the guys that I go to if I'm really looking for some shit. But there are other people, there are guys that you go to and they wouldn't necessarily provide detail. What we have right now is something that I think, just from the 50,000-foot view, it is exactly where it is that we are needing to be. but maybe not where it is that we're expecting. And I wanted to touch upon one thing just before I wrap this up. The Jim, you were talking about his passes, Zach Wilson's passes.
Mhm.
9 attempts, right? 6
Mhm.
completions.
Yep.
Two where the wide receiver fell down, and it wasn't a bad throw. It's not necessarily a bad read. Functionally it didn't work. The play broke down, right? But it wasn't because he was doing anything wrong. The kid
Yeah.
he knew where to go. It's not like you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you threw that. Where Sam, you know what? Did I say that name? Let me not say that name again. Anyway, and then the other throw was it was a tight window, and the DB made a decent play. So the reality is, if we can get competent play just like that, and I mean, again, it's been vanilla. We haven't seen the outlandish plays. They haven't taken the training wheels off, so to speak, and given him the opportunity to kind of improvise and do all of that stuff. We're not going to really see any of that really until we got meaningful football. But as of right now, as long as we have competent football, man, I think we're in good shape. So if you know what, let me shut up. We're in good shape, guys. Real talk. I like it. It's a hell of a time to be a Jets fan.
What about you,
guys
CJ?
mentioned
CJ.
He just
right.
blinks.
Well,
What he said? Nothing like that air.
No, I'm gonna save my thoughts for the end. So,
Okay. All right. Well,
basically,
at
I'm just
this
going to
point,
give you a synopsis of the 3 I got. So you listen. You know how I feel already. I'm not going to steal anybody's thunder. I'm not going to tell anybody they shouldn't be excited about this team, or they shouldn't be excited about the prospect that the Jets could be significantly better than they were last year. I'm not going to pee on anybody's parade. But the one thing that I am going to do is I am going to be realistic. And I am going to say that, look, we need to stop getting excited about one freaking player, and then when that player is down, we all of a sudden think that the sky is falling. Exactly how I feel about the Carl Lawson bit. And all I'm going to say for right now, because I'm really going to give my 100% purest thoughts on Weapons Out After Dark tonight, 9 p.m. on these four. So prepare it because it's coming. CJ's got a friggin' howitzer coming. All right?
Be there or be square.
Now, I'll go to my 3 things for the Jets game. All right? Number 3, Zach Wilson looked decent. He looked in command of the offense. He looked like he knew where he wanted to throw the ball. He threw a nice, tight ball. Guys that dropped the ball maybe either couldn't handle the pass or they were out of position to get the pass. But I didn't see the riskiness that we saw with Sam Darnold. That's number 1. Number 2, our defense was stout. Completely stout. Because Mike Glennon could not do anything back there. And I don't care. Well, Mike Glennon was only playing with the and blah, blah, blah. And the Giants didn't really have all their starters on the field and blah, 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 blah. I don't care.
They have the starting
you go out
O-line.
there to compete. You go out
And
there
that's
to
not
play.
what this is. Yeah.
The Giants' line was a mess against the Jets. They made their lives miserable. So I'm sorry, Giants fans. If you are looking at this and saying that it's no big deal, if I were you, I'd be pretty damn worried right now. All right?
Yeah.
Now, my number 1 takeaway from the Jets-Giants game is exactly what they needed to do with my boy LaMichael Pirine at the end of the 3rd quarter, the boot on the throat, put the game away, and do not let your opponent back. This is the killer instinct that I keep talking about. This is the killer instinct that I want to see from this squad. And I don't want to see it during the preseason. I want to see it during the regular season and every time that this team takes the field. And what I was very impressed with, a football team, despite its deficiencies, despite whatever you want to find something to complain about, go out and play hard for 60 minutes, except for Jabbar Zuniga, and I'm going to get him on Weapons Hot After Dark. I promise, because it's going to be worth your time. So here's another tease for the YouTube show tonight, okay? And why I think he won't survive the next round of cut. So those are my 3 things. Now we're going to fast forward to this upcoming Saturday as we start talking about Green Bay. Now we'll go in reverse order. Jimmy, you're going to kick it off, then Kevin, then Harrison. You're going to come up the rear. All right. 3 things that you want to see from the New York Jets versus Green Bay. Go, Jim.
First and foremost, I want to see 2 more series with Zach Wilson. I want to see him double what he did before. I want to see at least 4 series with Zach Wilson. I want to see more of the same from Zach Wilson, and from the game plan. To be fair, I want to see something that is basic. Get this kid's confidence up. What I would like to see, I want to see. I don't know if Rodgers is going to play, but I want to see Jordan Love in the dirt. So I want to see another 5 sacks from the defense. So there's my number 2.
Yeah, I don't think Jordan Love is going to play in this game.
So they're going to just run with their number 3 guy the whole game.
It's possible.
Have no idea, but so far, as far as I know, Jordan Love has officially been ruled as doubtful unless something changes within the next 12 hours that I don't know.
Well, all I want to see is the Green Bay quarterback in the dirt. How about that? I'll just say that. I want another 5 sacks from this defense. Don't care who it's from. Don't care if one guy gets all 5. Don't care if 5 guys get 1. I want to see our defense tackling everything the same. So 2 of my 3 are I'm sorry, they're kind of pedestrian, but I want to see more of the same of what we saw. And number 3, I want to see the game plan open up just a little bit. I want to see Zach Wilson take on a little bit more. I want to see the defense take on a little bit more. So start mixing things up, start shifting around. Let's see some defensive shifts. How long has it been since we've seen like a defensive line just all of a sudden shift to one side and like freak out the O-line? Like, I want to see stuff like that. So those are my 3 things. Just give me what we saw in New York last week, but just give me a little bit more of it.
You know what? I'm going to be real.
Kevin, you're up.
Well, look, I think I see things a little different than Jimmy. And I love your perspective. Usually, we vibe on quite a few things, but obviously, we don't. In this case, I don't want to see
a boring show if we always agree.
Yeah, and what I want a boring ass game. I just want us to dominate doing vanilla stuff. That's what I want. I want us to look. Okay. I just want to look. I want to see him. Obviously, I want to see him throw. Yeah, I'm thinking 5 series in particular that will give us, maybe a quarter and some, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to see him throw. If he's got 5 series, I want to see him throw. 15, 16 times, 17 times. Maybe 20 times. I don't want to see a lot of us forcing Zach Wilson to make plays. I want the offense to flow like it should, like it's designed to, which obviously is going to be quite a few runs. So that's what I want to see. I want to see our run game stand up. I want to see our offensive line, even the backups, even the guys that are probably going to end up working at Lulu's car wash within a couple of weeks. I want to see those guys know what it is that they're doing and execute. And if they're not good, that's one thing. But if they're not executing, that's something else, right? You can execute and still be outplayed. I want to see function. I want to see form. I want to see repetition. I want to see basic, because if you cannot win with your basics, it's going to be very difficult for you to cultivate a sustainable, kind of a style of winning. So I want to see vanilla. But what I do want to see, if we are going to talk about some detail, I want to see maybe a little more tight end action. I'll just be honest. I think last week what we saw in some of Zach Wilson's kind of miscues and even some of the frustration in attempts that he didn't take was not having Elijah Moore on the field. And that is a very difficult thing to overcome. And obviously it's not going to be something that we see this next week. But I want to see him get more comfortable with some of the other guys. I want to see tight ends, obviously Vincent Smith, who I, kind of expected was going to fall off the map. He kind of showed up a little bit. So I'm a little intrigued with what it is that he brings. He's a tall, fast guy. If he still is, he could actually be really, a good addition of what it is that we have in the room. Something else that I want to see a little more separation in what our cornerbacks look like, or at least a little more distinction about who is earning the lion's share of the playing time and who really is kind of on the bubble and in trouble of not being here. We saw some things last week that was questionable. I actually saw quite a bit. I think I heard you say this earlier, that they kind of played well. So there were some things to be, you know, not as concerned about, right? If that is maybe as positive as I want to be. But obviously, I just want to see some separation. I want to see some of these questions that are answered. Really, nothing concrete, right? Everything that we see, just recognize this is preseason. So I always want to keep that in perspective. So we're always talking about, who's not doing this or who's not doing that, who's winning games, who's not winning games. This is a completely different ball game. This basically is practice.
Yeah.
This basically is practice, right? Yeah, it's televised.
Yeah,
That you want to win, yeah. But this is
I'm glad you brought that up because that actually leads to my Zach Wilson point.
All right,
Well, good transition you got there, bro.
It is. Look, I'm the king of the
That's
segue.
some magical stuff going on. Yeah,
I'm nice with it. Look, and you didn't even see it. It was so nice. I did it with the left hand. Oh, you ready?
It was fast. I didn't see it coming. Where'd it go? Yeah, bro. I have my 3 points, but before, because you mentioned the wide receivers, I just wanted to, talk about that quick. Is you mentioned, with Elijah Moore not being in there, getting more, connection and confidence with the other receivers, and that's actually what we're seeing. We heard reports that Corey Davis is saying that he's developing better chemistry with Zach Wilson as that wide receiver one. And Moore's not in there, but you got Jamison Crowder. You want to see that chemistry develop. And the wide receiver 2 position, which if I can just take a second to talk about, because that's been making me crazy. Like, I think you guys would agree. You see it on Twitter right now where it seems like everyone's like kind of has a divisive camp for some reason, where it's either like you believe Denzel Mims can be the guy or you believe Keelan Cole can be the guy. And I'm standing there like, guys, we've been saying all before, too much talent is a great problem to have. Like, how are we picking and choosing? Like, I don't get that. Like, you see it. Like, it's like people like the Denzel Mims Avenger, where they think Keelan Cole's going to be crap because they want Mims to be the guy. Guys, cream rises to the top. Competition's important. How great would it be if they both ball out?
Right?
Maybe Mims and Keelan Cole are freaking awesome.
Like, Cole
look good and Mims look good. So that's my message. Because, like, a wide receiver, too, we've been seeing that, where it's turned into, like, him or him. Guys, let's take both. Let's get everything we can out of this, man. But my 3 points, Zach Wilson, quick, I'll go through them. We mentioned, how good he looked in the first game. Like Jimmy said, he looked poised. He looked confident. One thing which was big, because you mentioned, the cameras and his arm strength. I wanted to make a shout out to Mike Greeny, actually. Mike Greeny at ESPN. Actually, see, his favorite takeaway, he said Zach Wilson's first throw was literally so fast the camera couldn't keep up with it. He said he threw the ball and there was so much zip on it, it didn't get to Corey Davis fast enough. And it's actually true. So he's got an unbelievable arm, as we knew, great arm talent. I love his, pocket awareness, his poise and that ability. But as long as we keep seeing, like CJ said, not bad decisions being made. If a bad decision is made, do you learn from it? Do you have the memory of a goldfish? Do you come back in after? Like, I kind of want to see him do something bad, because I want to see what he does good next. Like Kev pointed out, like you said, this is practice. And that was my biggest thing, that like bothered me with the first game. Like, I thought he looked good. But if you looked at the interviews with Zach, remember when people were saying he was having a bad practice or a good practice? Remember I talked about that. And he was saying it's all about, executing drives and getting ready for certain situations. I wanted more of a, aggressive approach. I honestly wanted to see Zach Wilson air the ball out more. So that's what I kind of want to see. Like you said, this practice, let's see what he can do. Want to see more aggressive, in Zach Wilson, give him more opportunities to make more throws. If he makes a bad decision, how does he come back from it? Does he come back the next drive and look good? Does he throw a touchdown? Like, that's all important things, like all of that. So that's my first one. Second one, we mentioned offensive line. I want them to keep being consistent. Like I said, the backups scare me. So the biggest thing right now is health. We need these guys to stay healthy, and we need them to look good, because we saw them look good with the Giants, bad in the Packers joint practice. We're hearing mixed things about the line from the floor. So I want to see the line looking good. And then the last one is the edge rushers, the defense, that whole defensive line. Because like we said, in the last game, Huff, Dwumfor is not there anymore, but Jonathan Marshall, there was somebody else too. Hamilcar Rashid. A lot of young guys were eating. Now that Lawson's out, I want to see this defense, still eat. I want to see them, play really well.
Hamilcar Rashid.
Hamilcar.
Hamilcar.
I said Hamilcar Rashid.
It's Hamilcar Rashid.
The R
Hamilcar Rashid.
The R is rolling silent, like G.
I promise. That's the thing. I got the stats right. I got all the numbers, but I ain't gonna pronounce it right.
Yeah. No, that's a culture thing. Nice job, Jimmy. No question. Look, the fact of the matter is, just so many. Look, you know what? Let me not do that. What we got, CJ? What's next? I'm going to take us up on a tangent right now. Let's stay focused.
You just want to see what Green Bay. All right. One, I don't want to see anybody else get hurt. Okay, that's first off. That's first and foremost. Because if we start having bodies dropping like flies, then week one is going to be a complete disaster. And then, of course, the token Jet fan is going to sit there, come out, fire Joe Douglas, fire Rob Saleh. This team sucked. Johnson is a POS, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we're going to have to listen to that. And then the media is going to feed on top of it. And then the national media is going to feed on top of it, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want anybody else getting hurt for the rest of the preseason. Can we get through that? Okay? That's first off. Second off, take the training wheels off of Zach Wilson. I want that kid to play minimum one half of football. I want minimum one half. I don't care if he plays with the ones, if he plays with the twos, if he plays with the sixes. I don't care.
You want to have this weekend?
Get every freaking rep that he can get.
Yeah, look, I wish.
I want to have this weekend. Oh, yes, yeah.
So do I.
Oh,
again,
yeah, because you know what?
I'll be honest, I'm scared.
He shouldn't have gotten only 2 drives against the Giants, bro. He shouldn't have gotten 2 Giants against the Giants. He should have been in there a minimum of a quarter. A minimum. Why? Yeah. Because I want these starters being ready to go. I want no more excuses. None. Zero. I don't want any more excuses from this franchise about why do we suck and blah, blah, blah. And believe me, I'm going to go into it more on Weapons Side after. Okay? Where I can really say what I want to say.
Yeah.
What's funny is in the first place,
I just don't think Zach should be in outside the starters on the line. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So now, part number 3. I want to see how this defense can go and perform without Carl Lawson. Who's going to be that guy? And I know the next man up cliche.
We're vibing, bro. We're saying the same things.
Grow old, especially for Jet fans, because you know what? We go out, get a free agent signing, we get all excited, and then what happens? All right, somebody gets hurt, and then all of a sudden we have to go and we have to play an entire season without the one guy that we were looking forward to who could go and make it better. I'm sick and tired of it, whether it's on the defensive side of the ball, whether it's on the offensive side of the ball. All right? I'm tired of us having to hitch our wagon to one person. Because you know why? The Pittsburgh Steelers don't have problems like this. The Baltimore Ravens don't have problems like this. The San Francisco 49ers don't have problems like this. Last year, they beat us with their damn B team, and we watched the entire 18 fly, and we were licking our chops, and we were like, yeah, this is going to be a game we could steal, and we still got our asses kicked. Enough. That's what I want to see. You showed me balls in week 1, me even bigger balls. Who's going to be the guy to come off the brass ring? That's what I want to see. Now, really quick, we got a little bit of time to kill as we actually blew through all of our segments pretty quickly. I thought they were going to be extended, but it's beautiful. I want to talk about Mekhi Becton, and this is kind of, we're going to throw this in. Harrison, I know you're teeing up. I see you over there. You're chomping at the bit. You're like a rabid animal scratching at the cage, ready for me to let out. A lot of people, because Mekhi Becton has pretty much been getting beat like a drum throughout the entire training camp, okay? We heard Michael Floor talk a little bit about Mekhi Becton saying he's going through some things right now. We'll go around the room, start with Harrison, go to Jimmy, finish up with Kevin. So let's keep it brief as we're starting to watch. So fire away, my man.
Yeah, man. So throughout, like we said, throughout OTAs, throughout mini camp, Lawson and Becton, they kept saying it, both of them, iron sharpens iron. They were beating each other. One was looking better than the other. But after a while, Lawson was definitely had the upper hand. He was kicking his butt. But I was pointing out on, Twitter and saying people were freaking out about that. You're seeing, and again, it's tough to talk about now that we lost them. So trying to think about that at the moment. We were seeing the potential of an elite edge rusher at work. We were seeing a top elite edge rusher going against the top left tackle, and he was winning more often than not. But we saw last year, Mekhi Becton, we saw what he did. In his rookie year, he should have been an all-pro. You guys remember, we talked when we drafted him, remember, this is the offensive lineman I wanted. This guy, he's huge, he's big, he's a beast, but he's also unbelievably athletic. Great footwork, great handwork. His technique is outstanding, but he's very, very strong and big, but unbelievably fast and athletic for his size. He's a great prototypical left tackle. And health isn't a concern, because as we talked about in college, he was never hurt throughout college. He had an injury, as we talked about, as just something people get. Hopefully he's gotten better from that. Maybe that's what they mean he's working through. As we talked about, that made me nervous because if it weren't actually something going on, LaFleur would have just been like, hey, he's working to get better or something like that. The fact that he said he has something going on and, we're trying to help him with it and he's working through it, that made me a little nervous. But again, at the same time, people shouldn't have been freaked out when Lawson was beating him. I was a little freaked out with Preston Smith beating him, but again, a top edge rusher. I want to see him do better against top edge rushers, but we saw last year, again, he looked like he could have been a Pro Bowler in his rookie season. So he's just got to keep progressing, keep looking good, and maybe hopefully soon he'll be able to beat top edge rushers. But that's what he's been facing throughout camp and with the Packers.
All right, Jimmy, you're up.
I don't understand, and I've never been able to understand this. I don't understand the doomsday feeling that so many Jets fans seem to have when just normal stuff happens throughout the year. I like Carl Lawson gets hurt. I'm seeing people on Twitter saying the season's over because of our free agent edge rusher. Becton getting beat in practice. Well, offensive line sucks again. Becton's getting beat. What do you people do? What do you people do with your lives? Do you go to a McDonald's restaurant going, well, they're going to probably screw up my order. Might as well not eat. How do you live this way? Quite honestly, is my question. How do you live this way?
Take me through that vision. Do they actually drive through the drive-through and they're like, "Welcome to McDonald's.
No,
Can I please take your order?"
will walk in.
They just sit there and say,
These people will walk into the restaurant knowing that they're screwed or feeling like they're screwed. They'll walk in. Life's over.
There it goes.
You're going to put onions on my Big Mac. I just know it.
Shout out to Scott Gillespie in the comments real quick before we turn it over. I just eat what they put in the bag. Left out.
Right.
Fair enough, Scott. Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm not mad at that.
My point being is anybody can tell me to be realistic all they want. Anybody can tell me that I'm living in the clouds all they want. But let me just say this. There are 52 weeks in a year, and you guys are making yourselves miserable for 52 weeks. My team may upset me. They may disappoint me throughout the year. But that's only 17 weeks, 18 weeks now. So I'm happy.
Right.
Minus
the rest of the time.
17 weeks.
Right,
so
exactly.
if you do the math, I'm living my best life. So that's it. What I said all that for is to point this out. These things happen in practice. These things happen in preseason. People get hurt. Your top player gets beat. This isn't Madden. This doesn't go off of an arbitrary.
Wait, Jimmy, you can't have Quinnen in every play? I don't understand.
No, you just can't have a 99 rated player at every position.
Yeah, right.
And have him never get beat, never get hurt, never have anything happen to him. It just doesn't work that way, man. And who were these big names? Who was Carl Lawson before he was Carl Lawson? He wasn't anybody.
With
You know,
sweatpants.
who was Khalil Mack before he was Khalil Mack?
Right.
Who was
I've been
Joe
saying since last year,
Montana?
bro. Keep your eye on Bryce Huff. Watch
Who
that
was
kid, bro. This
who
is
was Joe
special.
Montana? Who was
John
Joe
Franklin
Montana before he was Joe Montana? My point being is talent is everywhere. And I forget who said it. Somebody said this, and he said, aside from like your ungodly talented players like your Aaron Donalds or your Jerry Rices, right? He said the talent on an NFL roster. Saleh said it. Saleh said it. I just remember this is from his press conference. He said you have your Aaron Donalds and all these elite, just ungodly talents, but he's like the talent from an NFL roster is minuscule. He's like it's about harnessing and unleashing what they can do. They're in the NFL for a reason. Becton is in the NFL for a reason. Because he has massive upside. He's got massive abilities physically, mentally. He's a smart player. He's going to be fine. If he looks bad in practice, he's going to look better on Sunday because of it.
Period.
Yeah. And if I may, Jimmy, because as you guys know, I've pointed out, I've mentioned the quotes before, I cover all the media stuff. On my page with the media interviews, stuff like that. The one you were actually talking about, I brought the quote up because I did tweet it out. And what he's basically saying was, if you look at Carl Lawson and you were just looking at a piece of paper, he doesn't check a single box in terms of height, length, size, none of it. But when you turn on the tape, all he does is win over and over and over again. And I freaking loved that because just like you said, bro, that's the point. Like, you can't measure heart. You can't measure dedication. Like Wayne Corbett, when he walked on, at the Jets, they're like, get the heck out of here. Like, what are you doing? Walk away. Like, what are you doing here? Like, he kept showing up, showed he had the heart. So, yeah, man, like Saleh said, I mean, Carl Lawson, he doesn't look the part. I mean, a couple of other guys, people said the same thing about Bryce Huff. So it's going to be interesting. Like, that's always been my biggest calling card. Whoever wants it, come get it. Every position's wide open, especially now on that defensive line. If Rashid wanted an opportunity, come get it.
Rashid.
I'll get it. Rashid.
Jimmy, I love you, brother. Check this out. Mekhi Becton is not an issue right now, and I think that minus I guess some people feeling like we have a lack of things to talk about at this point in time. I'm not necessarily sure why it is that we are. I will say this: Jimmy said something just a minute ago that just kind of it just makes me think. I think this is the most logical. Like, Mekhi Becton is being right now. He's being practiced by being given a steady diet of things that he struggles with.
Yeah.
The more he does that, the fewer times he struggles. So what is this we're talking about right now with Mekhi Becton? The only way that you get better at playing football is by playing football. And he's playing against the guy who pressures the quarterback 58 times a year. Are you kidding me? 58 times a year? You know how many times a game that is? How many times in practice that is for a rookie guy? Excuse me, not a rookie, but a young offensive guy who probably has very few instances of having a guy like Carl Lawson in front of him. So, man, I don't care. Look, Mekhi Becton is 6'7", 6'8", 360, 70 pounds right now. Yeah, 370 reasons why this guy's in the NFL right now. Not to mention the fact that he runs at a sub 540. Something like that. Come on, man. What we're talking about right now is people finding things I think that they feel like they want to nitpick, because again we're Jets fans, so we can let that lie right now. I'll just keep that around. I'm sick of it.
Why is everybody so afraid of being wrong? Is my question. Like, I've been standing by the Jets are going to win 11 games. Yeah. Like, what is
and
so
there's nothing
bad
wrong with being wrong?
don't?
What, you're human? I say it all the time, on my show, like, some of my takes, like, I give my honest opinion, I do my stats, I do my dives. I'm not always going to be right. Like CJ, I was damn wrong about LaMichael Pirine, but like I always say, if I'm wrong, that means our team's doing good. Like, I want to be wrong. That means our guys are doing well.
About certain things, yes. And again, we're all dealing with that, not necessarily being wrong, but, guys want to be first and, they want to be, loud and vociferous and all that, and want to say things that shock, and you talk about clickbait stuff, and then you know there's the reality of what's going on. So Mekhi Becton is going to be okay. Mekhi Becton, and I was thinking about this the other day because I was looking at the top 100. I was looking at the top 100. The thing on the NFL Network, right? So, how many offensive tackles would you put in front of Mekhi Becton right now?
Not many, bro. In my
Not-
opinion, not many. But then again, I'm a little inflated because I
Well,
think he's
well-
much better than he gets credit for.
And that to me is kind of why this entire line of conversation is as ridiculous as it is, because the fact is there aren't very many that are better than him, and he's only going to get better. And to me, I'm thinking, the Jets break the streak with Corey Davis, the top 100. I think Mekhi Becton should be in the top 100 in the league, man. I'm just gonna keep it real, and maybe after this season, it'll solidify it. But that to me is the type of talent that we're talking about. Maybe and look, I know there's some guys out there that kind of pick at me because they think that some of my takes are a little, maybe over the top, what have you. I don't necessarily think so. I'm looking at the talent that I see, and I think it would be difficult for people to really argue the fact that Mekhi Becton looks like he could be one of the very best left tackles, not just in the league, but if he continues to get better and does it consistently in the history of this game. So do we not see something like that in him? Is there anything in his game that tells? That's what I'm saying. Is there anything in his game that tells you that is not the type of player that we have now playing, that everybody seems to talk about is a scrub all of a sudden? The kid was a damn near all pro last season. What are you talking about?
Think about it like this. We drafted him last year, right?
Yeah.
And then you got the people like myself, Harrison. We're excited about that. I wanted, and I'll talking about being wrong. I'll dive on this grenade. I was absolutely wrong. I thought the Jets should have drafted Andrew Thomas. Thank God.
Oh,
We
thank
didn't do
God.
that.
Thank God.
Right.
So, but that was the safe pick at the time of the draft.
I remember
I'm glad we got.
talked about that too. Yeah.
Well, here's the
glad
best
we
way
got
to look
Mekhi.
at it, bro. And I think you guys would agree with me. Well, Jim, my bad.
Well, what I'm saying is all these people, when we're excited about a player, all these naysayers and doomsdayers, they'll say, well, he's going to be a rookie. You got to give him a few years before we know who he is. You give him 2 or 3 seasons to know who he is. And then now, in coming into his second year, these same people he's an issue. He's a scrub.
He's a bust.
Miss me with that. Okay, because you can't have it both ways. You can't say, calm down, don't be so excited, he's just a rookie, and then the next year going, nope, he's a bust. You don't get to have it both ways, man. I'm so sick of that. I'm sick of it. Go ahead, Harrison.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Here's the best, easiest way to look at it. Like, everybody, we're talking about offensive line here. If you know offensive line, you know who Joe Thomas is. Everyone knows who Joe Thomas is. Joe Thomas is one of the best left tackles to ever play the game. Well, when they interviewed Joe Thomas about when the Jets drafted ABT, man, he got giddy like a schoolgirl. It was wonderful. He got all giddy. He literally said, and this put me over the moon. Again, it's Joe Thomas. He said that they took my favorite offensive lineman this year in ABT, and they took my favorite offensive lineman last year in Mekhi Becton, and Joe Douglas is doing this right. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, I felt that way. Like Joe Douglas said, Mekhi Becton is my guy. I was saying the same thing. Like, I felt like this is the best left tackle in this draft. Like, I've been talking about it for like over a year and a half, 2 years almost. Like, this is the guy to keep your eye on. Like, I was really impressed with it.
Jimmy knows when we were having those debates about offensive line, right? And I'm sure we can point to a show where Jimmy broke down why Thomas was and should have been the best possible option for us at that
Sure,
point.
yeah.
Well, but look, I was drinking the Kool-Aid too. Like, I'm looking at the kid like, yeah, he's even then what was it, the top 4, right? There was a top 4, right? That was all kind of in the mix at the time. And again,
Thomas, Wirfs, Becton, and Wills.
And Wills. And I just kept saying, look, I just want Mekhi. I think he's a more raw player, but I think he has a higher ceiling. Same way I felt like about Trey Lance. I think that this is the type of player that we have. The reality is that this is kind of sneaky, kind of looking like what the Dallas Cowboys were doing all of them seasons when they were dropping first round picks on offensive linemen on the low, and then kind of wrangling with guys in contracts, on the back end. They just were having difficulties where they couldn't get, out of the playoffs, and injuries with Tony Romo. And speaking of Tony Romo, if you saw that video about him, kind of, kissing Zach, pretty strongly.
Hashtag the next Dan Marino.
I'm telling you right now, as Jets fans, we know how much of a beast Dan Marino was from firsthand experience. So Dan Marino, I just keep it real, was one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, and I hate the fact that he was a Miami Dolphin, because I just Pittsburgh kid. I mean, I tell you right now, Dan Marino's a Jet, and he wins the championship. I just kind of feel that way. But
Dan Marino's the best quarterback to never win a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it is. I think that some folks are making a mistake. They're kind of allowing some of the outlandish to kind of override the, come on, let's let's be realistic, right?
But while we're talking,
All right, guys. Now it's time for our final points.
Nice.
So we'll go around the room. Harrison, I'm sure you have something that you want to add, so you're going to kick it off. Then we'll go to Kevin, Jimmy, and then I will take us home as we're starting to come up against it.
Yeah, man. The big thing, before was just like I said, we want as much talent as possible. Yeah. We want as much talent as possible. We want everybody to be able to eat. We want, Zach Wilson, as many weapons as possible. So if Keelan Cole wants to be great, awesome. If Denzel Mims wants to be great, awesome. If Braxton Berrios wants to step up into the mix, that is freaking awesome too. Everybody who wants to be part of it, come and get it. But when we talk about that offensive line, man, just look at what Joe Douglas has done. I mean, last year, first round pick and offensive lineman. Should have been a Pro Bowler last year. This year, an offensive lineman, a guy on the caliber of Quentin Nelson. This whole offensive line, Connor McGovern, his guy that he got in free agency. Ben Roten, his guy that he got in free agency. Morgan Moses, a guy that he just got. He completely revamped this offensive line with all his guys, and it's significantly better. And like we just talked about with getting first-round offensive lineman last year, first-round offensive lineman this year, he's only going to keep doing that. Because remember, he gets it, that football is won and lost in the trenches. Same reason I feel it now. It sucks, but, after what happened with Carl Lawson, we could be in the hunting for an edge rusher top of next draft. That could be something we could potentially be looking for. Joe Douglas could be looking to maybe, even move up and get potentially the best edge rusher in that class.
All right, Kevin, you're up.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I don't know. I feel lucky to be on the platform with you guys. CJ, you've been doing this for a minute. Very well respected. People love you. People respect you. They come here because they know what it is that you do as far as putting a quality product out. Jimmy, my man, come on, man. You're all over the place right now. Blowing up your own page right now. Doing it big, the articles that you write, contributing to websites that kind of really, again, produce quality content. You guys get cameos on shows. I mean, popping up all over the place with quality, intelligent takes. Harrison, running your own site, running the YouTube channel, the whole thing. You guys really are respected content creators that do a very good job, and I would be honest with you, I would put you guys up with quite a few of the guys that other people would say are the best, right? And here's little old me sitting here saying that this right now is a hell of a time to be a Jets fan, regardless of the issues with the injury, regardless of the issues with what unfortunately is probably the worst beat situation in professional sports, or at least top 5 of the worst, right here in this New York media with the Jets, especially when we're talking about us as the younger brother to a team that we could spank any given Sunday, right? So
that's proven.
Here we are again, coming up on another season where things have changed, and there's a lot of folks that are saying, we say this all the time. Every time something changes, we look at it like, saying it's new and it's not new. This is the same thing. And there's a couple of guys, and CJ, you've been dealing with a couple of guys over the course of the past few weeks, who we know for a fact, kind of spew this nonsense. And I'm not going to even give them any respect by saying their names, you piker. But what I am going to say is, it is still a hell of a time to be a Jets fan. Carl Lawson's down. We've got mad guys behind him that will get an opportunity to step up and play, and that's what it is that you want. You want your GM to bring in guys that actually have the ability to step in and be the guy that you struggle to pay. Those are the type of guys that you want. Struggle to pay, right? Aren't those the guys that you want to draft? The guys that you're going to be like, God, I got to pay this guy $60 million because he's a monster. That's the guy you want to draft. And that's what we've been doing, right? We lose Carl Lawson, but we've got a guy like Bryce Huff. We've got a guy, with the type of potential that we thought Jabari Zuniga had when we brought him in. We've got a guy like Jonathan Marshall, who, while raw, has shown some exemplary skill. And
he won the game.
Feel me, right? So again, there's always going to be that little nagging, and I just kind of want to caution folks. There's always going to be that little nagging. Yeah, it's the same old Jets, and here we are. Let's not do that, guys. Let's not do that, right? I'm gonna be your Jets, guru, right? Come to there's already a Jets guru, excuse me, but you know what I'm talking about. I want you to just feel me on this, right? Take a deep breath.
You're gonna be a Jets, Ted.
Blow that out. Yeah, well, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, cross your legs, take your shoes up, pop your toes, take a deep breath, and realize this right now is one of the times that you will always remember as being the time right before it happened.
Amen, brother. I've been saying the same thing. Amen.
All right, let's wrap it up.
All right, Jimmy, take it home.
So my final thoughts are, I think, becoming a little bit repetitive, but it still seems to need to be said. Stop freaking out over normal things, Jets fans. We are an actual organization now. Injuries happen all over the league. Fines happen all over the league. Suspensions happen all over the league. Whatever the case may be. Just enjoy it. Not only enjoy it, but demand more from your team. The Jets owe us. Real talk. I'm not even playing, man. They owe us.
Yo, let me get that.
So expect more, demand more from your team, and start getting happy about it. Bro, I'm so tired of dealing with everybody who's just like, it's just a preseason game. If you're not happy that your team won a game being on the field, whether it's preseason or regular season or playoffs, I can't. I don't know where you're coming from. Because if I see the green and white on TV, on a football field, doing what they're supposed to do, putting the ball in the end zone, putting the field goals in the uprights, and winning the game, I'm a happy camper. That's just be happy. Expect more, demand more, be happy, and stop telling me to live down into your level of sorrow, because I'm not going to do it.
Cut it out.
Sorry, that's all me. Go ahead, CJ.
Six wins is a disappointment. Let me just say that.
Yeah, 11.
Cut it out.
It's gonna happen.
Cut it out. 6 wins is a disappointment. Cut it out. If I hear somebody else say, "Oh yeah, this is a 6-win team," what the hell are you talking about? Cut it
out. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of Weapons Hot here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You can follow the show on Twitter at CNC Jets Factor. You can follow my partners in crime over here, Mr. Kevin Jackson at Spotty Blackman, Jimmy the Reaper Jardine at Jets by Jimmy, Harrison the Fireball Glazer at NYGF Media. just like you see on the scrolling thing at the. If you haven't already downloaded the Worldwide Sports Radio Network app, do it. Google Play for Android users, the Apple iOS store for those of you with an iPhone. You could also follow Weapons Hot on different ways. Go to our page, hit the like button. Go to our YouTube channel, hit the like and subscribe button. Tune into the notifications, and every time we do a Weapons Hot show on YouTube, you will be notified. Go to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Hit the like on the Facebook page. Set up your notifications so every time you go live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, you will get a notification. There's plenty of ways to interact with the crew here from Weapons Hot. And also, don't forget, on Tuesday nights, Weapons Hot mission briefs are very short little show on Tuesdays on Jets Crew and Company for everybody for making that happen. Also, shout out to Mr. Kevin Robbins and the crew from Live Rounds, as both myself and Jimmy the Reaper Jardine were guest hosts on
man. I'm jealous.
the Live
Jealous.
Round show. There to go.
Jealous.
So,
you guys always get the
ladies and gentlemen, more than enough ways for you to consume Weapons Hot. You could all, if you want to tell us we're great, leave a comment. If you want to tell us that we suck, go ahead and leave a comment. That's what it's there for. Message us, we'll message you right back, because we love going back and forth with other fans about this team. Also, leave us some feedback about it here on Weapons Hot. So tonight, 9 p.m., YouTube, we have Weapons Hot After Dark. Be tuned in. That's always a great show. So, we're coming for Mr. Kevin, Spotty Blackman Jackson, Jimmy the Reaper Jardine, and our rookie test pilot, Mr. Harrison the Fireball Glazer. You know him, even though he crashed the X2. This is CJ the Painkiller D. Simone signing off. We'll see you guys when we see you guys. Peace, love, go Jets. Green Bay's on deck, and we'll catch you guys next week.
It is.